Hey everybody, Black Ninja 797 here, and welcome back to another video. And in today's video, I am ranking all the Pack-a-Punch quests in COD Zombies from worst to best. This video was intended to originally be every Pack-a-Punch spawn location worst to best, but that video would take a millennia given the fact that there is billions upon billions of Pack-a-Punch locations, sometimes even on just one singular map. So I just decided to end up ranking all the quests instead, which is a lot more manageable. I will be solely ranking all of these based off of my own opinion and experiences. The list is not going off of just only if the map is hard or easy to get Pack-a-Punch, because if it was, this list would be extremely predictable and therefore not entertaining. This list is all in good fun, so if you guys would happen to rank these differently, please by all means share your opinions here with me in the comments down below. And with all that being said, guys, let's rank all the Pack-a-Punch quests in COD Zombies from worst to best. Okay, so coming in at the first spot, which in my humble opinion is the most annoying way to get Pack-a-Punch in a COD Zombies map, this is going to Transit. I know some people are not a fan of the newer Call of Duty Zombies games with their Pack-a-Punch quests being so extremely difficult, but Jesus Christ, Transit is pretty bad too. Here is a list of a few things I don't like about the Pack-a-Punch on Transit. Number 1, when you need to end up Pack-a-Punching, you have to pray to God that when you end up placing a turbine back at the power station, it does not break on you, because for some reason in Transit, you need to have a turbine to still Pack-a-Punch even if the power is on in the entire map. Second of all, it's very inconvenient that I have to build the Pack-a-Punch machine. At least in the newer games, it's only like one piece or something like that on the machine, but you literally have to build the entire Pack-a-Punch on Transit. Lastly is the location in which Pack-a-Punch is at, because number 1, you have to go through the fog and the denizens to get to it in a timely manner, otherwise you're stuck waiting for the bus. And even when you finally do get in here, it's a narrow and tight-ass space, which means that zombies can ambush you very easily and you might not necessarily get out. Transit's Pack-a-Punch was never good, and I think sometimes people forget that because of nostalgia, but seriously, this is a bad Pack-a-Punch. Next is going to be Die Rise from Black Ops 2. Now the reason why I don't like the Die Rise Pack-a-Punch is because this Pack-a-Punch can move on you in the middle of Pack-a-Punching, like in this example right here. I no-clipped to find the damn thing because I was impatient trying to look for it, because it just moves around the map constantly. When I would finally find it, it would end up snatching my gun away from me and I had nothing to be able to kill the zombies with. Now yes, I was in God mode for this example because I was just trying to get the footage for this and I didn't want to play a legit game, but that's besides the point. In a legit game, it's very annoying when you just get bad RNG and either can't find the Pack-a-Punch on Die Rise, or when you finally do, you sometimes may lose your gun. Next is going to be Nuketown Zombies. Now, just like Die Rise, the Nuketown Pack-a-Punch is annoying, but for a completely different reason. So rather than the Pack-a-Punch moving on you, the Pack-a-Punch is completely random about in terms of when you can actually use it. Because in Nuketown, the Pack-a-Punch machine is just like the perks, where you have to wait for it to fall out of the sky, and it sometimes can be all the way up until round 25 when you finally can get it to spawn within the map. It is crazy how much that Black Ops 2 made a comeback with the last 3 maps being Mob of the Dead, Buried, and Origins, because these first 3 maps were all in a row, and Jesus Christ, they have got some very bad game mechanics, especially in terms of RNG mechanics, because this is entirely luck-based. Next is going to be Alpha Omega. Now, the reason why Alpha Omega's Pack-a-Punch is bad is because you have to end up unclogging these drains that are around the map. Sounds pretty straightforward, right? Well, not exactly, because what happens is that every single time that you try to clean one of these pipes, it's going to spawn in a crap ton of zombies. And in Alpha Omega, that's bad, because this map is extremely claustrophobic, just like the original Nuketown. And Black Ops 4, with the super sprinters and the mechanics of Black Ops 4, it's even worse sometimes. So you will down quite a lot, especially if you're not receiving help. This is also annoying in the later half of the game when you need to Pack-a-Punch a gun again, and they reclog. Yes, these drains will reclog again later, and not only just the once, which means that you constantly have to go back and forth around the map, putting yourself in danger just when you want to Pack-a-Punch your weapon. The only plus side to Alpha Omega's Pack-a-Punch is that it's always available to you as long as the thing is not clogged. The machine will always be there. It's just that you have to make sure that it's at a good timing, because if not, you're kind of screwed. Next is going to be the Pack-a-Punch on Voyage of Despair. Now, Voyage of Despair has 4 Pack-a-Punch locations, and really only one of them is good, which is going to be the one that's on the poop deck at the very end of the map. The Pack-a-Punch also roams in this map as well, like Dire Eyes, so you have to make sure where the Pack-a-Punch is. Luckily, in Black Ops 4, it at least will tell you which location's in. All you gotta do is just remember where that location is at. So, like, for example, if the game says it's at the poop deck, it's right here. You just have to remember where the poop deck is. The thing is, though, is that Voyage of Despair is confusing as fuck, and sometimes even just telling you literally where it is not enough. I need to visually see it on my screen to know where I'm going, because I get lost in this map. Voyage of Despair has always been confusing to me. I've never liked the layout of this map, and so sometimes finding Pack-a-Punch is just annoying. That's why I purposely always try to spawn it at the poop deck, so what I can do is I can just get all my guns Pack-a-Punch straight away, and then just disregard the Pack-a-Punch, because I don't want to be going looking for it in the middle of my high round strategy. This is why I don't like Voyage of Despair, because it literally, one of the 4 locations is good, and the other ones are obsolete to me. It's very annoying and feels like it's just a waste of my time. Next is the Pack-a-Punch on Blood of the Dead, and guess what? It's another roaming Pack-a-Punch. Oh boy, our favorite. And also, here's another oddity, is that you have to have the Spectral Shield, which is extremely weird. For some reason, they couldn't just make the Pack-a-Punch stay in one stationary location. I feel like that would have been better, but no, you have to have the Ghost Shield on Blood and spawn in 2 ghosts and make them spawn it in for you. It's very, very strange. And even then, it will still roam around the map. It's like, why am I putting in all this effort for just a move eventually? There's 3 locations in which the Pack-a-Punch can spawn on Blood of the Dead. My favorite being the roof, but the other 2 are going to be the other half of Mob of the Dead, which is like the Blood of the Dead specific part, which is going to be near Richtofen's laboratory / where the brew perk machine is, and then the other one is going to be near the secondary power switch, which is located down near the docks. There's nothing more annoying when you're Pack-a-Punching on the roof and then like it goes back to like the newer spawn and you have to keep going back and forth between the catwalk. That's very annoying because that spot is risky AF and I don't like having to go back to the new area pretty much at all. I only just go over there if I have to either get my brew perk back or occasionally Pack-a-Punch. Otherwise, I just avoid that area basically altogether and just stay in traditional Mob of the Dead. I don't like the Pack-a-Punch on Blood of the Dead. I just wish it just would stay put in one location, but we're gonna have to live with it. Next in the list is going to be the Pack-a-Punch for Zetsubo no Shima. Now in Zetsubo no Shima, it's a long-ass quest that you gotta do just to get 3 simple parts. So the first part is for turning on the power switch and then surviving a lockdown sequence underwater, by the way, where you're trying to fight off zombies and not suffocate to death, and then you get one of the parts as you're escaping the lockdown. Next is going to be RNG because it's just going to spawn in randomly from one of the webbed up bodies, and you have to end up meleeing them so that way they break and then hopefully it will drop you the part. And then for the last parts, you have to once again go underneath the water and end up collecting it at the bottom of this tunnel. Now this tunnel is extremely long and very big, and if you try to do this in the middle of a round, God rest your soul, because there's no way you're going to get out. There's barely any air, and it's extremely claustrophobic. You want to do this while holding a zombie, otherwise you're probably not going to get out alive. With all of these parts that you've collected, you can now go over to where the Pack-a-Punch is and use it to end up draining the water. And once you finally have drained all the water, you then can finally Pack-a-Punch in Zetsubo no Shima. One of the things I also didn't mention until just now, by the way, is that you better have a lot of money or gobblegums to get said money on standby, because the bunker in Zetsubo is expensive AF, and unless you have like roughly $20,000, you can't even open up the parts that you need of the map to be able to collect these parts. You either gotta get lucky with double points and managing your zombies, or you just gotta have a crap ton of the money-based gobblegums and just spam them into oblivion. Now I'm going to be lumping in Tagged or Toten and Call of the Dead together because their Pack-a-Punches work basically the exact same way. However, though, I'm not going to be including Golden Pack-a-Punch because that's completely different. So speaking in terms of just the normal Pack-a-Punch, the way that it works is that once you end up having the power on, you just gotta run around until you have it where the lighthouse shines a light, revealing the Pack-a-Punch location, and then you just gotta go find it. The Pack-a-Punch does move on both Call of the Dead and Tagged or Toten, but the map's layout is not necessarily that bad in comparison to the other maps we've talked about thus far. It is more player friendly. Tag and Call the Dead, it's mostly just about just navigating the frozen water, and if you can do that, you're pretty much in the clear. Next is going to be Moon from Black Ops 1. Now, I feel like some people are going to wish that I put this higher, which is valid because I understand the appeal in it. However, though, this one's not for me. Moon's Pack-a-Punch, if you want to, is available straight off from the spawn. All you need to do is just have enough money, and the way that you would do that is surviving in the spawn because it's basically like a little challenge arena. Here's the thing, I like to take my time with Pack-a-Punch, and this is a little much for me. I would much rather get Juggernog, get a couple of decent guns, and then come back here, or at least use the hacker and lock down the Pack-a-Punch so zombies do not disturb me. I do see the challenge in this if you are more of an experienced or crazy zombie player, but I'm more of a casual one, and that's where this opinion comes from. I like what it's providing, but I'm just going to choose to decline the offer and will come back here when I'm good and ready. Next on the list is going to be Dead of the Night's Pack-a-Punch. Now, the way that this one works is that there is going to be 3 crystals that are lying around the map, and you gotta fill them with zombie souls, and then it will give you a hint on what you need to do. These challenges are completely random, and some of them may be, for example, like a soul chest. Some of them might be like, go escort a random NPC and help them get to X, Y, and Z spot on the map. Sometimes it might be a lockdown. It really just depends on what challenge it's going to give you, but I promise you a majority of them are not that bad. When you finally end up completing all these challenges, you can go over to this one barrier here and get rid of it, and then head into the forest and fight the werewolf boss, and when you finally end up killing him, you will then be able to end up Pack-a-Punching at your own leisure and get all your guns set up. Dead of the Night's Pack-a-Punch is definitely a fetch quest and very complicated to some, yes, but I personally enjoy it, and I feel like it's bittersweet. Next is the Drak Pack-a-Punch. Now, the Drak Pack-a-Punch is one of the last few that end up being completely random. It's going to move around the map in 3 different locations, and the locations are going to be right near the Death Ray, the rocket test site, and then finally right near the anti-gravity room, and all 3 of these are really not that bad. The worst one in my opinion is going to be the rocket test site, just given the fact that the rocket test can sometimes go off on you, but as long as the rocket test does not go off on you, all these areas are pretty roomy and able to be navigated without necessarily putting you at really any risk. I personally prefer the Death Ray on Drak, that's my favorite Pack-a-Punch location, but let me know what yours is down below. All you gotta do on Drak to get the Pack-a-Punch complete is just interact with the parts that are at all the 3 locations, and whichever one you end up building last is going to be where the Pack-a-Punch finally spawns. So typically what I like to do is that I like to get the one at the rocket test site in the anti-gravity room, and then I'll finally approach the one that's near the Death Ray, so it will be built there, and then I can get all my guns Pack-a-Punch before it moves over to one of the 2 prior locations. I feel like most players, when they play on Origins, will favor their stabs over their Pack-a-Punch gun. The excavation site is also very cramped, by the way, and this is not necessarily the best spot you should be in the middle of a round. Lastly, I will also say this, is that the Pack-a-Punch can be turned off when the generators get attacked by the Templar zombies. Origins is my favorite map of all time. It absolutely is a classic, but the Pack-a-Punch is not its strongest attribute, and it's just something that a lot of people only do when they want to have a secondary gun for when their staff runs out of ammo. Origins Pack-a-Punch is even more obsolete with its Black Ops 3 counterpart because of the fact that you can just spawn in Gobblegums, which will give you ammo and things like that whenever you want. Next is going to be Firebase Z. Now, Firebase Z is similar to Origins, where you have to go around and turn on all the generators to get power to the map, but then all you gotta do is just go back to the spawn and Pack-a-Punch your gun. Unlike Origins though, Firebase Z will not have the generators turn off on you and having to go around killing a special zombie type, which means that it will always be available to you whenever you want, which is a lot less of a stressor on higher rounds. That, and conveniently, right next to the Pack-a-Punch is the Wonder Fizz, so right after you Pack-a-Punch, you can buy whatever perks you want, which means that there's a lot of great valuable assets to you all in one small location. It's just right there whenever you want it. Revelations is very similar to Origins and Firebase Z, so I'm not really going to necessarily talk about this one too much, but all you gotta do is just turn on the power with the corruption generators, and then just trap the giant gummy worm, and then you can go into his stomach. Plus also, the Pack-a-Punch in his stomach is one of the better training areas in Revelations. Ancient Evil's Pack-a-Punch quest is relatively good. all you need to do is just have your specialist and free all the creatures from their cage, and then eventually Pegasus will end up zapping the rocks off a Pack-a-Punch and end up unlocking it for you. And once Pegasus does, you can then use the Pack-a-Punch whenever you want. And the area is relatively good, not necessarily the most roomy, but a little bit roomier than some of the other maps we've once talked about. The Pack-a-Punch on Garag Kroby is very fun to unlock. What you need to do is you need to get these code cylinders which drop from zombies, and you have to go to the location that the color is assigned to. And once you end up calling in the Groff module, which is the thing that drops and just shoots that green beam in the sky, you have to end up killing zombies that are trying to attack it, and you will get a part so that way you can use it to unlock the Pack-a-Punch by taking all these parts down to the basement where Mule Kick is. And then finally, to end up getting to Pack-a-Punch, you ride a frickin' dragon, which is one of the most badass methods of getting to Pack-a-Punch I've ever seen in my entire life. This cutscene is always so fun to watch. It feels like I'm watching it for the first time every single time. I am just in awe about how beautiful this cutscene looks. I mean, look at this crap, dude. It's so freaking cool. Just going into battle on a goddamn dragon. Who else wouldn't want to get the Pack-a-Punch this way? This is super cool. So when the dragon reaches Pack-a-Punch, he will just fling you up into the air, and then you will fall through the roof. And then you can end up Pack-a-Punching whatever you want. This area is kind of unique in the sense that you can end up using the MG42, and you can also end up getting the Dragon Strikes. And then once you get everything you want, you just end up leaving by taking the sewage system. Next on my list is going to be Forsaken. Now, what you have to do is you have to fix this teleporter in the map. And luckily for us, since this is Cold War, it will give you a ping to where exactly you need to go to pick up the part, and you just need to collect all 4 parts. Now, once you get all 4 parts and build the teleporter, when you take it, there's still just one last thing you have to do, which is that you have to fight the Abomination, which will spawn in every single time. And when you kill the Abomination, then you can finally teleport to the area where Pack-a-Punch actually is, and finally get all your guns upgraded. And be sure not to stay in this area too long, because if you do stay in here too long, your character will die over time due to the radiation. Next on my list is going to be Pack-a-Punch on Mauer der Toten. Now, this is not necessarily the craziest Pack-a-Punch in the world, but it does look kind of cool cinematic-wise at least, because just having all the disciples floating around the machine, and then having a fight sequence with them is just very, very surreal to look at. It's not necessarily the most complicated, but it just looks visually appealing. I like the way that this just is designed, and when you finally do kill them, which is relatively quick and straightforward, you will just get Pack-a-Punch. It's as simple as that. I would also like to note this area near Pack-a-Punch is also really good for training. It's personally where I train in Mauer der Toten, which is nice because it takes a while to get enough money to fully Pack-a-Punch a gun in Cold War, let alone a fully Pack-a-Punch gun and secondary in Cold War. So it's going to be a while before you end up getting enough money, and it's just nice when you finally have all the funds just to be straight right next to the Pack-a-Punch. Next is going to be the Pack-a-Punch system on 9. Now, the way that the 9 Pack-a-Punch system works is that you have to end up defeating all the champions at every one of the God Statue locations. You will fight pretty much every mini-boss under the sun that is available on the map, so you'll fight anywhere from the Gladiators to the Tigers, and once you collect all 4 of the different types of heads, bring them down to the basement, put them on pikes, and then it will end up unlocking the Pack-a-Punch and you can finally upgrade all your guns. I like how it's 4 distinct boss fights with themes, and you can activate them whenever you want, and then you can finally Pack-a-Punch. It makes it more unique and novel instead of just simply just turning on the power switch. Now, since these are so similar, I'm going to put them one right after the other. The first one is going to be classified, and then the second one is going to end up being just normal 5. Now, they do work slightly differently on these maps, so let me explain how each one works. On Classified, you have to activate everything to DEFCON level 5 like how you did in the normal 5, but instead this time you have to find a set of parts that allow you to modify one of the teleporters, so that way you can actually end up getting to the true Pack-a-Punch on Classified, which is the original spawn of Moon in Area 51. Just make sure to remember that you activate DEFCON level 5 one last time before you take this brand new teleporting location. The reason for me choosing 5 over Classified for Pack-a-Punch is just because 5 is a lot more simpler, because all you have to do is just get DEFCON level 5 and then just run into the teleporter. Next is going to be the Pack-a-Punch on Ascension. All you have to do on Ascension to unlock Pack-a-Punch is just ride every lunar lander. That's it. Ascension's not necessarily my favorite map in COD Zombies, but I really appreciate the simplicity back then. Next is going to be D Machine's Pack-a-Punch. Now, this is all you have to do. You have to go into the Dark Ether and collect one single Pack-a-Punch part, and then bring it back to the overworld, and then you can end up Pack-a-Punching. I like the fact that in D Machine they brought back the idea of building Pack-a-Punch from maps such as like Transit, and then they made it actually flow and play out in a way that it made it fun and engaging, because instead of just simply turning on the power, it's a little quest. All you gotta do is just find the one singular piece lying around the map and just bring it back, and that's it. It's a little bit more than just turning on the power, but it's bite-sized. Not overwhelming, but bite-sized, and I really appreciate that. Next is going to be the Pack-a-Punch on Shadows of Evil. Now, even though this is not nearly as bite-sized, this one is just flat-out fun. I enjoy the fact that I can go around and do all these crazy rituals to unlock Pack-a-Punch. This one is more about just how entertaining it is versus how easy it is, and that's one of the reasons why I like it. I like the fact that I'm going on this crazy journey, ultimately to initially, back when I first played this game, be surprised that I was accidentally helping out the Shadow Man, which was the bad guy, and then I had to undo my mistake. I typically don't stay in this area for long, but the initial impact that this left on me when I first played Black Ops 3 has just stuck with me. It was a very good first impression. It introduced me to both the characters and also the gameplay mechanics in such a unique way that this ultimately led to Shadows of Evil becoming one of my favorite maps ever. Next is going to be the Pack-a-Punch on Buried. Now, personally, I don't necessarily care for where it's located, but I like what you end up getting rewarded with while trying to get there. Because when you go through the witch's house, even though yes, they do take your points, every time you successfully get out of the witch's house and kill the last one, you will be rewarded with a free perk, which is a way you can get max perks on Buried. This map has a lot of interesting trade-offs. The witches can steal your points, but you can also get a free perk. The maze is annoying, but you can also get a unique fast travel that allows you to get back to the spawn. At the end of the day, Buried is one of the easiest maps in COD Zombies ever. It's debatably easier than Cold War. I would say that's just a matter of how you look at it. Personally, I feel like the few annoying things about Buried are not nearly as bad as people think that they are, and there's a lot more good when it comes to Buried, especially with this Pack-a-Punch method, because I like the fact that I can get free perks on the way there. Now, depending on the type of player that you are, this may surprise you, so let me explain. This is going to be the Pack-a-Punch on Shangri-La. Now, the way that it works in Shangri-La is that there is pressure plates around the map that you must step on, so that way you can be able to go up the stairs in the spawn to the Pack-a-Punch machine. Now, in multiplayer, everybody has to stand on a tile and they're scattered throughout the map. In solo, there's just one tile, and all you have to do is just stand on for a couple seconds, and then just go over to the Pack-a-Punch. In solo, it's ridiculously easy. In multiplayer, it's ridiculously hard. Since I am primarily a solo player, I just decided to only rank the solo version of this Pack-a-Punch method, because since I've only played Shangri-La with my friends only so many times, I feel like I don't necessarily have enough experience to really give a valid opinion on the multiplayer version of Shangri-La's Pack-a-Punch. If I was to, though, it'd probably be towards the bottom, just because the one few times that I have done with friends, one of them have gotten confused several times on how it exactly works, which ultimately led to us just getting frustrated and not wanting to Pack-a-Punch on this map again. It's just nice how, at least in solo version, that this is a simplistic thing that is in a map that is known for being very complicated. Next is going to be Derice / the Giant. Next, I'm going to have Keener der Toten from Black Ops 1, and after that, Town from Black Ops 2, and the reason why I have all these maps back to back to back, and the reason why I'm addressing them only for just a little bit here is because these maps are only here for one reason and one reason only. They are simple and straightforward and fun. Because in my mind, there's two successful ways that you can have Pack-a-Punch, and that's going to be either by having it be ridiculously easy, or to give it some sort of fun but not ridiculously hard to understand quest. Because that's basically how I've been describing all the ones that I've liked, and the ones that I don't like are the ones that I can't control / are annoying gameplay mechanic wise, such as Die Rise with it moving around, Nuketown with not being able to know when it's going to show up, etc, etc. I want Pack-a-Punch to be something that I can get based off of my skill level and not my luck. I want it to be something that is easy and straightforward to understand, and not something where I have to understand the Pythagorean theorem to be able to just simply upgrade my weapon. You know what I mean? Okay, so now there is only one more map that is in this list. I don't necessarily know if you guys have been keeping track, but if you were just to make a guess, what do you think is going to be my number one? Alright, you got your guess? Coming in at the #1 spot for my personal favorite map to Pack-a-Punch on, this is gonna go to Mob of the Dead from Black Ops 2. Mob of the Dead's Pack-a-Punch is the perfect balance between fun and challenge. So, the whole premise of Pack-a-Punch is also pretty much a good majority of the story in Mob of the Dead. You are 4 prisoners trying to escape Alcatraz, and the way you're trying to do so is by building a giant plane. And the whole entire quest to get Pack-a-Punch / the premise in the story to escape is by getting that plane. And you have to get all the parts by going around the map and doing these mini challenges. The gameplay perfectly blends in with the story, and it doesn't feel like it's 2 separate things. The challenges to get every single part are not only unique, but they're not necessarily too easy or too difficult, and it always feels like that Mob of the Dead has a distinct beginning and end with its Pack-a-Punch. So when you end up getting to Pack-a-Punch, that feels like a mini ending to me. It feels satisfying to get the Pack-a-Punch and just be like, okay, that's good enough, I don't need to do round 30 or I don't need to do the Easter egg. And a nice cherry on top is that the Golden Gate Bridge where you end up Pack-a-Punching is so wide open. This is one of the best training spots ever, personally, in COD Zombies. This area is great to run around in and just survive. And if you really just want to end the game, all you gotta do is just electrocute yourself with the electric chair and then you just go back to the prison. It's very, very fun. Very good gameplay loop. Very unique mechanics. Very easy to understand. And it just flows well. I have not met a singular person that has said that they do not like the Pack-a-Punch system on Mob of the Dead. When Jason Blundell tried to take on zombies, with this map being his very first one, he could have just ended up playing it safe and just went really simplistic, but he knocked it out of the park with a home run by trying something new. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but I will say this, is that Jason, thank you for making this map, because if you did not take the risk, we would have not had one of the best maps we still got to this day in the franchise. So yeah guys, that's it for today's video, and I do truly hope you guys ended up enjoying it. If you did, please consider dropping a like, comment, subscribe, follow, and all that beautiful stuff. If you guys want me to rank a specific thing in the future for COD Zombies, just let me know by leaving a comment down below. And as we wrap up the video, guys, just want to mention 2 quick things. #1, I have a second YouTube channel now. It is called Black Ninja 797 Extras. And on this channel, I'll be uploading and posting additional content that I would normally not post here on my main channel, such as walkthroughs, the Return of Challenge Accepted, which was a series I used to do where I would play games that you guys request me to play, and then funny moments with my friends. If you guys want to end up checking out this channel, I will have a link down below in the description so you guys can go check it out. And also as well, shout out and thank you to Epic Games for being my first ever sponsor, because I have a supporter career code with them. The code is my name, Black Ninja 797 in all caps, and you guys can use it in the Fortnite and Epic Games item shops. Anybody that uses my code or has used it before in the past, I tremendously appreciate you. And with all that being said, guys, I hope you end up enjoying seeing another YouTube video from the most new YouTubers we're ever going to see. Thanks for watching, guys. I love all of you, and peace out.
Hey, meme lords. Jesus here. And you better have enjoyed that video there by the eternal god Daddy Ninja. You should probably subscribe too, or the mighty Moab will come for your balls. If you enjoyed the video, you might like it too. And give me the memes. Flash, bang, boom!